Today, I'm breaking down 5 players who are going significantly earlier in high-stakes FFPC fantasy football drafts compared to Yahoo fantasy. So not trying to say in the Joes never know more than the Joes out here. But again, when we have many millions of dollars for the high-stakes drafters to be right, it is at least noticeable and something we should be cognizant of when we see them, again, so far ahead in their ranks and their drafts over certain players compared to the Yahoo users. So with that, guys, let's get after it with training camp superstar, Jaguars wide receiver 1, I think we can say at this point, Parker Washington, wide receiver 26 over at FFPC, just a wide receiver 32 in the Yahoo streets. I'm buying into the hype, guys. He's my wide receiver 25. I took him in round 5 of a fantasy draft today, and I understand that could look freaking ridiculous in 6 short months, but as things stand right now, I really am buying in, obviously. So 27% target share, 19.1 PPR points per game across the final 5 games of last season, which just so happened to coincide with the best football we've seen from Trevor Lawrence and really a white-hot Jaguars team that, again, lost in the wild card round to the Bills, but really were playing some of their best football down the stretch. And that is meaningful to me, okay, because I've looked at these breakout wide receivers in the second half of the season and actually looked at the Michael Wilsons, the Jerry Judys of the world who did it on kind of dead in the water teams that had no chance of making the playoffs, compared to guys like Parker Washington who were on teams very much in the thick of the playoff hunt. And it really was alarming just how many busts came from that former dead in the water group. So we're feeling good about what Washington achieved last season in the midst of a playoff push from the Jaguars. And then looking ahead to this year, it just seems like we've gotten more answers than questions every step of the way when trying to project what his role is actually going to look like. Travis Hunter, potential problem. He's been playing full-time defense, even specifically only backing up Brian Thomas Jr. Hand up, that was a mistake I made, drafting a little bit too much Travis Hunter as a late-round dart. I thought it was going to be a situation where if any of Jakobi Meyers, Parker Washington, or BTJ missed time, Hunter would be thrust more into their position that was left open. Not the case. He really is only the backup for BTJ. At least that's what it sounds like from training camp. So again, not going to be seeing a ton of Hunter out there, seemingly regardless if any of these guys are missing time, perhaps with the exception of BTJ, who, by the way, banged up his shoulder. I think he's fine. Wasn't a non-contact jersey. Also, Jakobi Meyers, jammed right hand thumb. He's had his hand in the brace. So already a few somewhat concerning issues going on. Don't think BTJ or Meyers are going to be missing week 1 or anything for the record, but clearly it's the Parker Washington show. And we've heard that when I was actually able to get John Shipley, one of the ace Jaguars beat reporters on this very YouTube channel, asked him about 12 personnel, 13 personnel formations. And he has been adamant that the Jaguars are really struggling to ever take Parker Washington off the field. So we saw what he did down the stretch last year. And even just the entire season, guys. Like, where do you think, just think about it for a sec, where do you think Parker Washington ranked last season as a whole in PPR points per game? 32nd. That surprised me. I thought it would have been high 40s or something like that. He was already the wide receiver 32 last season, playing a part-time role. Down the stretch, he was a wide receiver 1 in the role that, honestly, just trying to rationally look at what it could be this year, makes the most sense for him to be once again filling. So those were the concerns. It was like, well, he did it without Travis Hunter in the situation. Well, from everything we can tell, he's not really so much going to be in the situation again. Year 2, Liam Cohen and T-Law's system. I believe in the offensive upside. I believe in the play caller. I believe in the QB. And I believe in the Parker Washington talent. Do you need more reasons to believe in this man? I got one. Did you guys see the Jaguars? I don't think they're the prettiest uniforms ever. I also haven't put a football helmet or pads on in the last, 12 years at this point. So I'm going to reserve some of my swag, aesthetic, judgment, and kind of let the young kids figure it out a little more. But regardless, all right, they did their kind of uniform reveal. 5 dudes, guess who was in the front? Parker Washington. Said, stand aside, Trevor Lawrence. I'm the star of this show. Parker Washington front and center. He literally has chop wood and carry water tatted on his forearms. Parker Washington to the freaking moon, everyone. He's my wide receiver 25. I've has the same tier as Christian Watson, Jameson Williams, and DJ Moore. Priority target in round 5 and 6 in full PPR formats. Up next, we have Texans running back Woody Marks going off the board as the RB47 over at FFPC, RB54 over in the Yahoo streets. Again, I am siding more so with the pros on this one. He is my RB44, simply because we're looking at a guy who is priced with a bunch of just direct handcuffs with no chance for standalone value. And I do think Marks has a little bit of a chance to get there. Unlikely that we're going to be putting Woody Marks into our RB2 spot or even flex and be feeling overly good about it. But man, Texas beat reporter John Alexander, quote, the split between Monty and Woody might not be 50-50, but we'll be close. It seems like we've been pricing these guys throughout the offseason, or at least the community has, more so as the Dave Montgomery show. And maybe it will be, okay? But he is the sort of compliment that we could see the pass down role emerge. Woody Marks caught 261 passes in his college career. Do you guys know how insane that is? I have talked about Woody Marks a couple times on these podcasts, and every single time in my show notes, I've had to go back and double check and be like, wait, 261, there's no way. It's the second most collegiate catches in a career among all Division I running backs since 2000. Shout out to Texas Tech legend Torian Henderson for having 303 back in the early, like Cliff Kingsbury, I think, days, 2002, 2005. So last season, that was the strength of Woody Marks, 24 catches, 208 yards, and 3 touchdowns. He couldn't get anything going on the ground. I don't think he's some special game-changing talent on the ground. That said, I think we all agree the Houston Texans O-line sucked last year. It wasn't like he was being put in a great position. Should we maybe give him a little more credit, the sort of credit we give guys like Ashton Genty, Quinshon Judkins? I think both those guys are better than Woody Marks. But maybe Woody Marks is average and he's not terrible on the ground like some of the numbers said last season. Even if he is terrible on the ground, the receiving stuff obviously looks good. We saw that in college, and we also saw that at the NFL level. That's the standalone argument, okay, about him maybe making this 55-45 with Monty. The handcuff argument really isn't one. We're confident here. I did my long ranking about, again, if every RB1 exited the picture, where would we be ranking the RB2s? I think I had Woody RB8, in large part because we saw this coaching staff give him a 3-down role last year. He handled at least 15 touches in all but 2 of his final 10 games. His snap rates were regularly around 70%, which is exactly what we want to see out of a true bell cow RB1. He reached a peak of 87%, guys. You look at the rest of this running back room, there's no one that should be concerning us. No one that concerns me, at least. Jahar Jordan, Noah Whittington, Owen Wright, 5'2" Deuce Vaughn. We don't even have Dario Gumbawale out there anymore to worry about. Not that he was ever a huge concern, but some of the pass down stuff. Woody Marks, to me, guys, same tier as Tajay Spears and Marshawn Lloyd. These are the last sort of RBs who, again, probably not, but you could imagine, the standalone value. But at a minimum, really good handcuff upside. Love, love, love tacking on Woody Marks to rosters of all shapes and sizes in the double-digit rounds. 3 more players I want to break down, but first, guys, I am Team RotoWire, and us over at Team RotoWire, we do have some fantastic tools, expert rankings, and all that jazz that we would like to throw your way if you're willing. Ian35, 35% off. You can get my rankings. You can get my articles. Theo Greminger's rankings. Theo's awesome waiver wire articles that he does specifically for high-stakes leagues each and every week throughout the season. Also have our live draft assistant tool, which is going to be able to take you, a scholar, into your sleeper Yahoo and ESPN drafts, literally from our technology. It's a great way to be able to have rankings at your fingertips and get strategy along the way. ADP tools. I literally, guys, get lost sometimes in all of our tools at RotoWire, which, yeah, I know we do need to do a better job of showing you just everything we have, but so many possibilities. And again, if you're just trying to get a little bit of extra help in this draft season, code Ian35. If you want to support the show, code Ian35. Just saying. Anyways, back to business. Browns wide receiver KC Concepcion. If you've been following my videos, you know I am in fantasy football love with this rookie wide receiver, one of my favorite sleepers, and the folks at FFPC seem to be agreeing with me. Wide receiver 43 over in those streets. Even I can't quite get that high. He's my wide receiver 46. Still very much so a bargain as a wide receiver 55 over in Yahoo Fantasy. So great preseason debut in terms of what he was able to do, catching that slot fade from Deshaun Watson, scoring a touchdown under reverse, and then really more so important to me was the usage. Mentioned the reverse, also had a pop pass, also had a punt return return. He almost busted. Todd Monken has been adamant that he just wants to get the ball in this dude's hands. And it really does seem like that he's being given that focal point featured just kind of treatment at this point. All right. Week 2, we did still see Denzel Boston going out there with the first team offense. Not KC. He got the just the I'm a freaking baller rest day out there. So Todd Monken's new Zay Flowers, from the looks of it, it would be a lot cooler if he had a quarterback. But man, I feel like that's more than priced in at this point. I think we could be looking at a very similar rookie season as to what Jalen Waddle did before he had to deal with Tyreek and before he got Mike McDaniel in town. In that season, Jalen Waddle was also priced as a wide receiver 4 in fantasy. He was someone where we said, oh man, but Tua hasn't been very good. What can we really expect from him? But you looked at the offense and it did seem like they'd have to try to funnel targets to someone, and that someone was Jalen Waddle. That's why I think it's going to be happening here with KC Concepcion. No, I don't think that Deshaun, and then very soon after Deshaun inevitably gets benched, Shedeur Sanders is necessarily going to lead this top 5 scoring offense or anything like that. But if we are in that situation, what do we want? Underneath targets who you're able to more easily design touches to and then can make a lot of hay after the catch. Is that not exactly what helped Harold Fannin put up top 8 numbers at the position last season? That's what I'm talking about. So I think KC deserves to be right there with guys like Mekhi Lemon, Michael Pittman, and Matthew Golden. And again, outside the top 50 wide receivers in Yahoo Fantasy, miss me with that. Love me some KC Concepcion. Up next, Packers wide receiver Matthew Golden, guys. My wide receiver 43, a little bit cheaper than that. Even in FFPC is the wide receiver 46 over there. Just a wide receiver 57 on Yahoo. By the way, guys, I am using the positional ADP here just because there are some changes in FFPC versus Yahoo. FFPC uses tight end premium, so that kind of bumps up the tight ends over the wide receivers. And also a lot of the Yahoo ADP is trying to use base 10-team leagues. I think they're 12 or 13, round drafts. So you end up seeing a bunch of guys kind of grouped together around that 130 ADP mark. So trying to use the overall ranges just didn't make much sense to me. So again, that's why I'm sticking to positional ADP for the record. But yeah, guys, Matthew Golden. The rookie season was rough. It really was. And the history of round 1 wide receivers having sub 500 yards without like an injury taking out half their year is littered with busts. Not all of them. Shout out to the late great Demaryius Thomas. Rough rookie year and got going. It wasn't great last year, and it wasn't great in a season where he ran a little hot in terms of having the opportunity. Christian Watson missed the first half of the year. Jaden Reed was out after week 2 and had that collarbone injury. But Romeo Doubs, Dontavian Wicks, 2 guys where Dobbs went to New England, got 70 mil. Wicks is having a great camp in Philly. Apparently they're wide receiver 2 right now. They were 5 deep at wide receiver last year. So I feel like Golden getting a little mogged from Dobbs and Wicks, maybe in the moment, felt a little worse than it actually was in reality. We only saw Golden have 3 games with 5 or more targets, and he did well on them. 5 catches, 58 yards, 3 catches, 86 yards, 4 catches, 84 yards, and a touchdown. And these aren't even games where he had 13 targets. You know what I'm saying? I can pull it up right now and double check. I think his most targets in the game was 6. It really was. He had 6 against the Cowboys. Also could have had another 40 yards if he didn't run into his own dude in that deep ball. 5 in that playoff game against the Bears when he finally scored a touchdown. This is also an organization that we've seen constantly kind of slow play their wide receivers early in their career. James Jones, Jordy Nelson, Randall Cobb, and yes, of course, the poster child for this, Devontae Adams. All the talk from Jordan Love and Matt LaFleur alike throughout the training camp, throughout the offseason has been positive with Golden. We've seen with the first team offense, he's out there and he's getting the few snaps with multiple tight ends on the field. Beat Patrick Surtain for a first down, a nice 4th down play, showing the trust level from Jordan Love. Christian Watson, Jaden Reed, Matthew Golden. What if the answer is just yes, guys? All the Josh Jacobs stuff, first of all, be better, whoever is still at underdog at this point. Spreading that fake news. For what it's worth with the Josh Jacobs thing, guys, I'll read you the full quote so we don't have to go off some clickbaity headline. The Packers GM was asked for his plans on if/when Josh Jacobs is suspended, and he responded, "We've obviously been preparing for that in case that happens, but at the same time, I feel really good about the guys we have in that room." He got asked if Jacobs is going to be suspended and if they're going to do anything about it, And he said, yeah, we've been preparing for that in case it happens. What do you want him to say? Right? Could Jacobs be suspended? Yeah, it's possible. My guy, Drew Davenport, does not think it's going to be. I also tend to err on the side of the NFL always drags their feet with this stuff. I do not think Jacobs or Rashad Bateman are going to be suspended. I will happily buy the dip on both, mostly just Jacobs because Bateman's free anyway in fantasy drafts. Anyway, that said, Josh Jacobs, Marshawn Lloyd, Chris Brooks, it's an offensive line that RotoWire and a bunch of other companies that do try to grade that sort of performance don't love. Wouldn't it make sense if Matt LaFleur just opens up this offense finally? Let Jordan Love cook. He's got the efficiency numbers of one of the best quarterbacks in the league. That's just a fact. I'm not saying he's in my top 5, but if we did a top 10 quarterback list, even if you don't have Jordan Love in it, he should be in the others receiving votes. You know what I'm saying? It's going to be Watson, Reed, and Golden being featured. And I know Tucker Kraft's a dog, but he's already come out and told us himself that he's going to be on a snap count of sorts in the first half of this year. God forbid Jacobs is suspended. I don't think we're going to just see a run-heavy offense. I think we see Jordan Love chucking the ball around in an offense that we've heard from my guy Eli Berkowitz, who came on again this channel to help talk us through the situation, that could be using more pace, that could be embracing the pass game a little more. Then we have a first-round talent and an offense we like with a play caller we respect and a quarterback who, even if you don't love, you have to admit, does have some pretty nicely passing efficiency measures, and we can get him outside the top 55 dudes at the freaking position. So for me, I have Matthew Golden ahead of guys like Michael Pittman and, admittedly, Casey Concepcion as that tiebreaker being their offense. But yes, if you are in these later rounds, you still need yourself another wide receiver, absolute prime option to get. And, you know, if you did find yourself going early at quarterback, going early at tight end, it's something where, and I've talked about this previously, but when I'm in a competitive league and I get Brock Bowers round 2, I'm not taking an early quarterback as well. I'm afraid I'm going to fall too far behind at running back and wide receiver because guys like Matthew Golden aren't going to be there. I'm still in my 10-team ESPN league, though. My dad and his work friends, I'm sure they love being in there with me. That's the league where I will go elite tight end and quarterback because I'm confident that those dudes are just kind of looking at the ESPN ADP, and I actually will be able to get pretty much every sleeper I have on my list. So you guys know your league mates better than me. And again, if you are confident that you're going to be able to load up and get pretty much your pick of the litter at some of these wide receiver values, guys like Gold can really help you just load up at other positions earlier in your draft. Got to remember that opportunity cost sometimes. And of course, the guys you are drafting with. One more wide receiver that honestly caught me by surprise, guys. First, though, you guys want to do some Survivor with me? Fantasy football version. I don't want to go out to an island for freaking months on end. This does not sound very fun to me. But guys, Splash Survivor has 2 pretty freaking awesome contests, in my humble opinion, that you should very much consider joining. We got the RotoWire 100K NFL Survivor, traditional Survivor League with a $15 entry fee. Also, RotoWire 50K Touchdown Survivor. This one is player-based. This is essentially an anytime touchdown Survivor League, $25 entry fee on that one. I'm going to be talking Survivor picks at least a little bit all season long. I do very much enjoy the format. I will tell you though, week 1, it's going to be a chalky one for sure, but the Jaguars at home against Deshaun Watson and the Browns, tough to be poking too much of a hole in that one. So myself and Theo Greminger will be competing again over with Splash Survivor all season long. And hey, if it's not enough for you guys trying to win that $150,000 worth of money, maybe beating me and Theo up is. So splashsports.com/RotoWire. Hey, use code RotoWire and you'll get a 50% deposit match and 100% payout boost. Again, splashsports.com/RotoWire. Make sure you use code RotoWire at splashsports.com/RotoWire. 2 more, guys. I lied. I'm holding out. Did I do 6 on this one? I did. 6 players that the high stakes leagues like more than casuals. All right. Titans wide receiver Wan'Dale Robinson. Wide receiver 41 in FFPC. Wide receiver 63 over in the Yahoo streets. I have been 53. I've been much more on the side of FFPC with these so far. This one, I can't even get that far into it, but man, 41 versus 63. I literally had to double check the Yahoo PPR ranks because it surprised me he's that low. I get it. He's not a fun click, but you know what is fun? Fantasy points. And he was a top 15 wide receiver last year and PPR points per game. You look at the rest of these guys. Puka, JSN, Jamar Chase, Amon-Ra, Rasheed, Pickens, London, Olave, Nico, AJB, CD, Zay, and T. Higgins. They're all consensus top 20 wide receivers. Devontae Adams is around the top 24 because look at him. He's old. Wide receiver 63, Wan'Dale Robinson. Even if you expand it and you don't look at the top 15, you look at the top 24. Quentin Johnson and Stephon Diggs are the only other guys priced at wide receiver 40 or lower. I know I've had a similar comment about Alvin Kamara with this. You look at all the running backs that have scored 18 or more PPR points over the past 2 seasons, and it's like, wow, Alvin Kamara is really cheap compared to the other guys. But he's old. I get it. And they brought in Travis Etienne. Wan'Dale Robinson is not old. He's going to a new team, but it's a new team that paid him $70 million to go there. It's a new team that brought in his old coach. He's only 25 still, guys. As much as we want to slander these pint-sized slot mavens and saying they don't have upside, top 15 fantasy numbers sounds pretty cool. We're doing full PPR today, guys. And Wan'Dale Robinson, he's a king in those streets. Even in 2024, he was a wide receiver 42. And that was the true Scamdale Robinson year. Last year, he was actually getting the work downfield more, did some really good things with Jackson Dart off script. Man, I can't say I've gone on my way to get the guy, but those points are points. And wide receiver 63 price tag, wild to me, man. I got my head of Dobbs, Coker, Khalil Shakur, and Denzel Boston. At least in full PPR. I don't think this Titans offense is going to be good, but the Giants offenses haven't been good these last 2 years. Were they not good because maybe they kept spending and throwing 140 targets to Wan'Dale Robinson? Maybe he played a factor. I don't think the Titans are going to be good this year. I think Cam Ward can exist in those 2.5 seconds and getting the snap and tossing a short pass to Wan'Dale Robinson. Those things add up in a hurry in full PPR land. So usually in a situation like this, you'd have to worry about the lack of continuity, but having Dable there, having an offense where we're not exactly terrified of target competition, I'd like to think Carnell Tate will at some point catch a pass in a professional football game. Maybe not, though. Now he will, probably. Just hasn't happened yet. Just saying. Wide receiver 63 Yahoo Fantasy. Wan'Dale Robinson, very, very nice value, particularly in leagues, guys, where you got the 3 flexes and you got the 3 wide receivers. Really do like Wan'Dale Robinson going that late in drafts. He's someone that, as I continue to get my last few drafts under my belt here as the season is about to get going, I do want to try to prioritize again, especially in full PPR formats. This time, the last player for sure, Saints tight end Juwan Johnson, FFPC ADP, tight end 15, just a tight end 22 over at Yahoo. I am closer to the FFPC side of things. He is my tight end 16. I have him as basically the last tight end that I am fine drafting and starting in week 1. I have Jake Ferguson and Dallas Goedert just in front of him. Behind him, I have Chika Okonkwo and Terrence Ferguson as more so those lottery ticket types. So look, last year went pretty great. Third most receiving yards among tight ends. Only Kyle Pitts and Trey McBride have more. Only 3 touchdowns on 102 targets. Sounds like a reasonable situation to expect some positive regression there. Chris Olave, we live in a world now where it was a minor breaking story that Chris Olave got the wind knocked out of him at the end of practice. The blood clot stuff isn't good. Let's face it, doesn't exactly have the best concussion history as well, particularly when Derek Carr was throwing him hospital balls every game. With Juwan Johnson, he just finished as a tight end 12 last season. He was even better when Tyler Shuck was under center. Weeks 9 through 18, 11.5 PPR points per game. That was good for tight end 9 treatment. So we have a guy in the same offense with the same quarterback with the same target competition for at least the first month and a half while Jordan Tyson is sidelined, being priced 10 spots lower than where he finished last year. That's pretty wild to me, man. He averaged 75% snaps per game on the season, 3 games north of 90%. They drafted Oscar Delp. They brought in Noah Fant. Maybe they're more problematic than Foster Moreau and Taysom Hill were last year, but at the same time, like we saw those guys come in, limit Juwan's snaps a little bit because he was going north of 90% early on. Then it kind of faded down a little bit. But those dudes were healthy down the stretch of last season, and it did not stop Juwan from doing his thing. Maybe Devon Vele, who also actually was doing pretty nice down the stretch last season. Maybe he's more so number 2, but it easily could be Juwan Johnson in the first 6 weeks of the season. Even if, because look, let's face it, I'd prefer to have a better tight end than Juwan Johnson starting in week 1. If I don't get Bowers or Loveland in the first 4 rounds, my attention is then going to Isaiah Likely and Dalton Kincaid. Those are the 2 guys down the late round streets I do think have the most upside to actually be joining that top 6 group. Because if we don't think we have top 6 upside, what are we doing? I'll wait for someone like Juwan. If you do go after George Kittle or Tucker Kraft, guys who we are worried about, man, they're easing him back in, or man, he doesn't quite look like he has all his juice back. Juwan Johnson is your guy because it's a first half play. And I can see him still being okay if and when Tyson is back. Not like we can exactly give him the benefit of the doubt with staying healthy anyway, which breaks my heart. Oh, I was going through my teams. I drafted so much Jordan Tyson. Sad. Juwan Johnson. I have him right behind Jake Ferguson and Dallas Goedert. The last and cheapest tight end you can reliably start in week 1 and feel some semblance of good about it. Another reason why late round tight end, first or last, Ricky Bobby mindset for me this year. Very much fine playing in those streets. But guys, that's going to wrap up this video. If you like the video, please like the video. Hitting that subscribe button always helps as well. We'll be getting some drafts out here. I recorded this on Wednesday night, so it should be live on Thursday, but I am actually going to FFPC with my dude Rich Rebar on Thursday night in about 35 minutes. I want to go to the store and get some Kona Big Wave before this one. I got time. Dwayne McFarland and myself, real-time sports streets. That's right. Me and The Rock back drafting. Going to have my boy Johnny Daigle from ETR on next week also doing some drafts and doing some more with Dwayne. So I'm hoping to have like 5 or 6 different draft streams that should be available where you guys, again, think you should get out there and do some best ball drafts to get some reps. We got our free mock draft tool over at RotoWire as well. Like there's a lot of nice things that we are trying to provide, but also just getting to watch some of us alleged experts be on the clock, be in high pressure situations, talk it through. I really do think it can be helpful for your draft. So anyway, keep an eye out for all that. And also just best of luck in those drafts. I know you guys have a lot going on. I will be having my ultimate fantasy football draft strategy guide going live on rotowire.com before this weekend. I'm also going to have, again, tiers in that advice and kind of like a cheat sheet for you if you are into that kind of thing. Ian35 if you are into that kind of thing. So anyway, guys, that's going to do it for me. Until next time, take care, everybody.